Welcome along to another edition of Draft Nuggets here on the Three Tech Pod. You're watching this on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, the podcast on Spotify and Apple at Three Tech Pod or the Three Technique, whichever you prefer to search. I'm Mitch Mason, joined by Trey Reeves. And Trey, we are doing a little live mock draft today. I'm going to be taking over the Chicago Bears, and you, on the day that Tom Brady announces he's retired, are taking over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, huge changes to the needs for Tampa Bay, right? With Tom Brady officially announcing his retirement, I think they were planning on not having him anyways, but
hmm
now we're officially official, at least as far as Tom Brady's concerned. Obviously, we went through this last year, but we'll see what happens. I think he's officially gone this time. So, do we want to roll with Kyle Trask? Do we want to draft the future quarterback? I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I hope the answer is not roll with Kyle Trask, but
Hey, they seem to like him, man. I don't know. They seem
well,
to like him down there.
the Bucks front office and Mrs. Trask are about the only ones that do. So we're gonna do a 3 round mock draft today. We're gonna do it on slow settings. This is, by the way, on the Pro Fantasy or Pro Football Focus, excuse me, website. Their mock draft is kind of the only thing that I like that they do, but it's a very useful tool. We're gonna roll with these settings for positional value, need, and randomness. And I think you and I are big on doing trades and trying to find the most realistic result for these teams. So like I said, I'm going to roll with the Bears, you're going to roll with the Bucks. There's a chance that we do a lot of trading here, and so let's go ahead and get on the clock. I'm taking over the Bears, and the issue for the Bears is that they don't need a quarterback, right? They don't
Right.
need to go and draft a replacement, because you're fine, right? You got Justin Fields. He should be the future. I think if you continue to put people around him, you put wide receivers around him, which you'll see is their top need on the board according to PFF. I think you're going to be fine. The issue is you've got the number one pick. You could draft an edge rusher, but could you also move back just a couple of slots? Just a couple of slots and have a chance to not only increase your draft capital, but ultimately get a guy who's going to be a franchise cornerstone. For me, that's an absolutely. And so my first kind of initial wondering here is, all right, where can we move back? Who's looking to come up and get a quarterback? And for me, I think the number one option would be Indianapolis. I would love to move back to even four and pick up, maybe a third. I think likely this would include a future one as well. But for our purposes, let me see if I can get 106. I can get 106 and I can get the future one. So, is it a
I think you
lot of,
could even get 35 there, man. Like the Colts are so desperate at quarterback.
I mean, they would
Like you
they
could
would let
probably
it.
add 35 and a future first and maybe
Gosh.
even a 2025 first. That's the quarterback tax.
Yeah. So okay. So if the Colts do come up, and we have no idea what this draft simulator is going to throw out for them, but who do you think the Colts would be coming up at number one to get?
It would either be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I think there's other prospects. We talked about them on our last video, but I don't think you're giving up that kind of draft capital.
hmm
A future first, 4 picks in this draft. Possibly, I see you toying with that in a second in next year's draft too.
Sure.
You're not giving up that much draft capital to take a non-sure thing, and so I think they'd be going up for C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young.
If you're a Colts fan and you make this trade, you give up your draft capital through the first 3 rounds plus a 2025 first. Are you happy with that if it means you get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud?
I think I am. They've been
Okay.
in quarterback purgatory since
Yes, they have.
Andrew Luck surprisingly, uh, retired a few years ago. Look, that's the worst place to be in the NFL is quarterback purgatory. And oh wow, not accepted. Okay, so Irsay is not picking up the phone for that deal. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of picks to give up in this draft, but you're not mortgaging the future
Right.
necessarily. So I think that's good. If I'm the Bears, I probably want another first, but that's a lot of picks. They have a lot of holes outside of quarterback, so
Sure.
I think that's a win-win trade there.
All right. So we'll make that trade, and the Colts come up to get Bryce Young. Will Levis goes number 2 to the Houston Texans.
Right on.
We've made that very clear. I don't love that. But right now we're sitting pretty. I'm gonna get one of the premium edge rushers if I want. I can go get, depending on who the Cardinals take, and I know they list guard and center as the top needs for the Cardinals. I think they need an edge rusher with the retirement of JJ Watt, and they go get Tyree Wilson. Wow.
There we go.
Hey,
They're
listen,
following your plan, man. You have
listen.
Tyree Wilson ahead of Will Anderson.
Listen, I think there's a good case to be made that Tyree Wilson is the top player, the top edge rusher in this draft. You talk about power, motor, desire to get to the quarterback. He's had it all, and he's been really under the radar this first, I guess, the first 3 years of his career at Texas Tech. This year, he really burst onto the scene. But that being said, Will
Do you
Anderson.
love Will Anderson enough? Would you consider trading down to 8 for the Falcons, who probably want to move up for CJ Stroud?
I mean, so we do have a trade call,
Oh, it's the
and
Panthers.
it's the
Okay.
Panthers. The
Panthers need a quarterback.
Panthers do need a quarterback, and they're salivating at the idea that CJ Stroud is on the board. I think they're thanking their lucky stars. They're sending a Christmas card to the Texans for taking Will Levis and continuing their franchise mediocrity. Let's look at some literature here. What would it take? Oh my goodness. Okay. So they would move up 5 spots. And I wonder, there's a chance I could get 93, but at this point, that's a ton of picks. So they're not going to do a future. They're more likely to do 9, 39, and 114. Panthers are also desperate for a quarterback. Frank Reich knows, the first original Carolina Panthers quarterback. He knows the importance of having a good signal caller. I'm interested in moving back. At the same time, you let Roquan Smith go, and to get an edge rusher like Will Anderson. Now, I don't.
Miles Murphy could be there at 9.
He could, but if you don't get him, I'm already going to be dropping back to. I think, gosh, this is so tough because if I do drop back one more time, there's a chance I can get all of my needs, right? I can get an edge rusher, I can get a tackle. With all of this draft capital, it's just, what do I value more? I think Bears fans would be elated at this first trade. I think if they drop back again, they might be upset.
And it's also extremely rare to
Yeah,
see that happen. So if we're
right.
wanting to be realistic, I think
Right.
they'd sit there
And
for
that
trading
was
up pick.
my gut reaction. So I appreciate the Panthers picking up the phone. Hey, it was a great conversation, but we'll be drafting Will Anderson with this next pick at number 4. So we're locked in here with the first pick in the Bears. Jalen Carter goes at number 5 to the Seahawks. I don't love that fit in Seattle. I think they need offensive line help for Geno or whoever their next quarterback would be, but defensive line's also a need. So my question for you now is, you're the Tampa Bay Bucks. You're the next one of us that's got a pick at 19. You've seen 2 quarterbacks go off the board. You've still got CJ Stroud uh, on the board. At what point do you think, okay, it might be go time to go ahead and move up?
If I'm gonna make a move, it has to be right now. It has to be with Detroit. I've got to jump ahead of Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Stroud is not making it through that gauntlet. So I'll go ahead and see what it would take, what Detroit would need from me. Obviously, I'm giving them 19,
Woo.
50. Woo, okay. Easy now. Easy now. Okay. So we got to make this an entertaining show, Mitch. I can't give up all of my picks here.
It's true.
But go ahead and give him 19, give him the first next year, and give him 82 and see what that looks like.
Okay, they would take that.
Okay. Now take off 82.
Okay. Ooh,
Okay. Um,
that didn't seem
I
like enough to move up to
I
6.
run to the draft. I just spam the accept button, and
Sure.
if that's real life, I don't know that that would be enough for Detroit in real life to pick up the phone and move
Yeah.
all the way down to 19. Where are their other picks?
They've
Do they have
got
another first
8.
round pick?
They do. They've got
18.
18.
There we go. Okay.
48 is a mid-second, and then
So,
they've
I
got
mean,
Minnesota's.
if they are willing, go ahead and add the second next year just to be, or the third next year, excuse me, just to be realistic, because I
Okay.
don't think they would give it up for two firsts. And
Okay.
we'll offer that trade, and we'll go ahead and move up. We will
Uh-huh.
move up to 6, and we'll take CJ Stroud there.
All right. So the Tampa Bay Bucks move up to
And
number
I think that
6.
Kyle Trask, could be the guy, but I'd much rather have a guy like CJ Stroud also in the
Sure.
fold. And then if Kyle Trask is also, showing you a lot, you can probably find something in a trade for him.
Sure. All right. So the Bucks moving up. They'll go up 13 spots for 19 and 2 future picks, including a first rounder next year, which Tampa Bay could be bad, really bad. They're $50 million over the cap, but you're going to draft CJ Stroud and get your new QB1. You've still got a lot of needs on the board: tight end, the offensive line, the defensive interior to pair with Vita Vea. Now, we're done for the first round. And if I'm the Bears, I'm perfectly happy. Now, with my personal strategy, I'm happy to let this ride all the way to 35 and just kind of let the board fall to me. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally okay with just seeing what happens and get us to the second round.
Sure. So Miles Murphy goes to the Raiders. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. Brian Branch goes to the Falcons. Ooh, that's interesting. Paris Johnson, really, really good tackle. Best tackle on my board. Goes to the Panthers, who are out of a quarterback spot now. I'm surprised they didn't try and trade down, if I'm being quite honest. Devin Witherspoon goes to the Eagles. I think that is just incredible. Interesting note, Zay Flowers is the first wide receiver off the board. A lot of people like Zay, and he's going to be hell after the catch to try and get on the ground. 11 seems very high for him, though, does it not?
Yeah, I don't know that he's my first wide receiver off the board either,
Yeah,
but he's an ultra talented guy. I think Quentin Johnson to the Packers makes a ton of sense right
sure.
there. Anthony Richardson to Washington,
Yep.
you know, I don't hate that pick for
Oh,
the Commanders. I
big.
I actually think that they're in a situation with Heineke and a couple of the other guys they have that they are okay kind of just making sure Richardson is ready before throwing him in there.
Big run on wide receivers there in the middle of the first round. You see the first linebacker come off the board in Trenton Simpson. BJ
Ooh,
Ojolari, who's, I think, climbing some draft boards, goes to the Jags, who really, I think they need a
Dijon
safety.
to the
Bijan goes to the
Cowboys.
Cowboys. If you watched my earlier mock draft on Dallas, that's who I ended up taking. Tanner McKee off the board. Eli Ricks. Wow, that is really early for Eli. I I've got a border like a tweener grade, second, third round grade on Eli. Siaki Ika goes to the Texans. That was a guy that I would have been interested in potentially drafting. And just like that, Chicago back on the clock. So edge rusher's been addressed. We've got Will Anderson. They list needs as wide receiver, tackle, linebacker. I think getting a weapon, getting offensive weapons for Justin Fields has to be the priority. The
I
question is,
love Josh Downs here
he
personally.
he's a great. So Downs is going to be a slot receiver. So is Nathaniel Dell. Tank Dell is his nickname. For me, I think this is a coin flip. Which do you like more? Dell had a little bit more production, but he also had the same quarterback for longer. Josh Downs obviously really benefited from having Drake May this year. I think Josh Downs, a really solid slot receiver, is a good option here. If it's me personally, I would like to draft someone with this draft versatility that's more suited to wide receiver one.
And you've got another pick at 54 and 64 as well.
Sure,
I think you can get good value on a wide receiver there.
sure. At the same time, I don't know. That's to me, playmaker is their top need. I don't know that Dalton Kincaid for this draft value. I don't have him rated quite this highly. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take Josh Downs. I'm going to let the board fall to me. Electric playmaker. I think we'll be really, really happy getting him on the board. Kalijah Cansey. Now, this, if you've never heard this guy's name, he's a very talented defensive pass rusher. He's a nose tackle that is 6 foot 284. Now, PFF has him graded as a first round potential pick. I don't think anybody else does. I haven't seen him in a lot of top tens, but this is kind of where you see maybe one site favoring someone and it's skewing the rankings. Um, I don't see this guy maybe even going until late day two, but here he
Mm.
is in 36. So you're next up at 50. Are you thinking let the board fall to you? Just let's roll off some draft picks and see
Yeah,
what
let's roll
happens.
off some picks. Let's see who's there at
Okay.
50. And if we, start seeing a run on a particular position, I might make a move, but let's see where we're at.
Where do you think the Bucks need to go next? You've got tight end, offensive line, and interiors. The Panthers get a really good linebacker, Drew Sanders. Are you thinking it's kind of best available offensive lineman?
Yeah, that's probably where I'm going. You can go really any position on the offensive line. I think would be a fine pick for the Bucks here. Not really seeing a ton. Well, there's
Oh,
Darnell Wright. I
Darnell
was gonna
Wright,
say
that's a
that.
good one to
I
the
was gonna say
Packers.
not seeing a ton coming off the board, so that's really good for me.
Yeah.
Um, it's also a situation where I wouldn't mind just seeing who the best available player is.
Mm-hmm.
Cody Mach, I have only watched a couple of his games. Not really super familiar. I know John Michael Schmitz has a lot of people excited out of Minnesota
Yeah.
with what he
So,
can do. He was the anchor of that offensive line
mm-hmm.
for multiple seasons, I believe. So, kind of interested here, but that's really, I don't know. I feel like taking him at 50, maybe a little bit of a reach, but I don't know. Let's
So
see who else we got here.
here's the deal. Cody, they've got him graded. PFF has him graded as a tackle. He's not going to play tackle at the next level.
Right. Yeah.
He will be a guard or even a center. Dane Brugler says that he could move inside the center and potentially be an all pro as your
Mm,
interior. So don't see that tackle and think, okay, he's going to be my right tackle. He'll move inside immediately. You mentioned John Michael Schmitz, a guy who's done this for feels like 8 years for the Golden Gophers. These two guys, I think, are really. I think they're pretty safe bets. I haven't watched a lot of tape on Matthew Bergeron yet. I don't know where he nets out. I know some folks have Blake Freeland as a first round pick. I again don't see that. It's too early to take DeJuan Jones, but dude, he is lighting up the Senior Bowl this week.
he
He is
is. He
six
really
foot
is.
nine, three
He will
hundred and
not be
seventy
there in the third
pounds.
round in
He
April.
he is murdering people at the Senior Bowl. So anyway, I'll let you drive here. You've got 2 picks left in this 3 round mock draft. Who are you looking at?
Can you show me the D line just really quickly? I just want to see
Absolutely.
what we're working with here. Hmm.
Keanu Benton's going to be good, but not this
Not here.
early. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go. We'll take Mach. We'll go with the versatility of Mach,
Okay.
and yeah, the fact that he can play multiple positions. We'll find a place for him.
I like it. Emmanuel Forbes comes off the board of Seattle. They might be building a new Legion of Boom out there. Really, really like that pick. Garrett Williams goes a little earlier than I would have thought to the Chargers. And I'm back on the clock now. We've got a wide receiver. We've got an edge rusher. There's not really a tackle that I feel comfortable drafting yet. And I've got 2 more picks. So I think, a guy like DeJuan Jones, man, if I could get him middle of the third round, I'd be flipping double back handsprings, right? I mean,
Yeah,
just a guy that is going to bring so much value. May not be elite right off the gate. He's a fridge, and so I do worry that dealing with speed rush might not be. He might have to learn that at the NFL level as the game speeds up. I gotta tell you though, right now, just looking at best available, getting another playmaker like Darnell Washington, I don't hate that. I don't
I
hate
don't
that.
hate going running back here, maybe either, because you look at the situation in Chicago with
Sure.
David Montgomery. I don't think they're planning on bringing him back long term.
Yep.
Um, that the room is struggled to stay healthy behind him.
Yep.
Charbonnet could be a fun little playmaker as well, or Jameer Gibbs.
I think See, and I'm wondering, we talked about this on the podcast yesterday when we recorded it. Not exactly sure when this is going to go up. There's so much depth in running back. I don't want to
Yeah,
be the guy that starts that run, that flips that first domino. I want to see who makes it down to 79, or I want to see it if we were doing the full mock. I want to see who makes it to the fourth, fifth round.
yeah.
So for that reason, I think I'm going to take best player available. I think I'm going to go get Darnell Washington. If I'm the Bears front office, I've got to show a commitment to the offensive playmakers. And Darnell Washington is being described as a unicorn. He's 6'7", just a behemoth of a human being. And there goes
There's
the
that
first running
Charbonnet.
back. Yeah, outside the first round, it's Zach Charbonnet.
Oh, rest in peace to his career. If
Yeah.
he goes to Detroit, goodness
Oh,
gracious.
Jalen Hyatt. There he goes to the Cowboys. That's your boy.
That's my boy. I would be, as a Cowboys fan, I would be absolutely ecstatic with a Bijan and Hyatt start. That means we're
Sure.
probably moving on from Zeke and Pollard, but
Yep.
hey, we'll take what we need to do.
Diane Henley, that's not even a name that I'm very familiar with. So if I'm the Bears, I'm okay with how that went. I don't have any here with this board. Here's a spot where I would really love to be able to trade down. I'm wondering if I need to take John Michael Schmitz. Maybe if we kick somebody out to the outside. I mean, Matthew Bergeron, I don't have enough of a feel on him to be able to say, yeah, let me go ahead and take a true tackle. Maybe that's something that the Bears have to address in free agency. Um, DeMarvion Overshone, man, if he could slide all the way to my last pick in this mock, he unleashed a spin move today at the Senior Bowl that got me a little hot and bothered. So I
I
think
would be okay with taking him here at
at
64
64,
personally. I would.
where let me look at true linebackers. Overshone, Noah Sewell, Dorian Williams. He's my guy. Tell you what, if you can get him, American All Conference player, defensive MVP of the Cotton Bowl that we were there watching, had a season high. I think he had 17 tackles in that ball game. Dorian Williams, Cam Jones. I like the depth at linebacker here, so I don't know that I necessarily have to go reach.
You want to get your boy from USC too, I think.
Sure.
Or
Um,
Ohio State, my bad.
mm, boy, this is a good question. All right. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I can't, I don't have an option to trade down, which is unfortunate, because I'd have to, or I don't have anyone picking up the phone, right? Let me see if I could trade down. What if I could move back to 72? They don't have anything that makes it worth it for this mock. Who would pick up the phone? Mm, You know what? But I'll do it. I'll do if the Jets would the Jets move up for this? We'll move back 10 spots. They won't do it. The Falcons play ball. Okay,
There
Falcons
we
play
go.
ball. I'm a little desperate to get out of that spot. If I'm Chicago, just the way the board fell to me in my personal rankings. There goes a running back, Jameer Gibbs.
That's a trade I could actually see happening too. The
Sure.
Falcons, I know that they feel like they might have solved the running back question, but
Oh,
getting
here.
Jameer Gibbs, I think, would upgrade their room significantly.
Couple offensive linemen come off the board. There's Matthew Bergeron. Deontay Banks goes to the Raiders. I really like that pick. There
It's a
goes
good pick.
Overshone.
There's Overshown.
Keanu Benton, really solid interior. And Hendon Hooker goes to the Jets. Okay, so at this point, at this
Great pick, New York.
all
Save your franchise, why don't you?
right, at this point, I've got two picks here for the sake I know I'm going to get graded poorly here, but for the sake of this draft, I think let's do this. Let's go um wait, did Dewan go? Oh no, I clicked on tight end, that's why. Let's go Dewan Jones. Let's get our tackle.
I like it.
And then I think I'm going to take I think I want my linebacker.
Well, in the with these
Good
trades that
pick.
you've done too, it kind of resets the strategy just a little bit.
Sure.
You have some luxury picks where you can make sure that you get your guys. And,
Mm-hmm.
whether the Bears do that or not, I don't know. But yeah, they're gonna have some room to make some moves here. So now I'm on the clock. Interesting situation here. I think we could definitely use all the offensive line help we get. Let's surround CJ Stroud with some weapons. That's another good possibility here. I don't know what Tampa's going to do with their wide receiver core
Right.
because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have been a dynamic 1-2 punch. They've been great for Tom Brady. They're also getting up there in age. And I think if they could find a way, if this is a true full rebuild, like let's say they could pick up a first round pick by trading Chris Godwin or Mike Evans this year, even a second round pick, they might toy around with that. So now that I don't think that they're expecting it to be an elite season next year, they're certainly building for the future. And they got their Super Bowl with Tom Brady. So I wouldn't hate taking a guy like Rashee Rice right here, and
I
just
love
getting
Rasheed.
another weapon.
Yeah.
Doesn't really address the needs though. So let's see who we've got at the defensive line, if you don't mind.
Of
That is
course.
another need. The rush defense. Vita Vea, a great stalwart on that defensive line, but he is, fighting injuries this year. He wasn't his old self. What do you think about Roy out of LSU?
I took him in my Cowboys mock draft. He's a guy that I haven't seen just a ton of like national praise on him, but I know LSU folks really, really like him.
Mm,
So I would not be opposed to doing that. I think him and Coburn are kind of, you flip them basically. Where do you prefer those guys going? I think Javon Dexter Sr. as well is somebody that
he's a
I'd
big
consider
dude.
at this
He
pick. Yeah.
he is a people eater in there.
Yes, he is.
Um, let's see. Show me tight ends one more time. I apologize.
No,
Let's
you're
see.
good.
Let's just get all of our ducks in a row here. Cade Stover is a guy I'm interested in, but probably not at the middle of the third. Hmm. Sam Laporta, he just seems more like a blocking guy, doesn't he? Like I know that's a stereotype out of Iowa, but yeah, let's look at best available one more time, and I think I might pull the trigger on. You know what? Let's have some fun. Let's go Rasheed Rice. Let's pull the trigger there. Let's get another weapon for CJ Stroud, and let's start rebuilding that offense. It's starting to age out a little bit.
I like it. I like that pick. All right, so we get our draft grades here for the Bears. We get an A. We get A plus. I get an A overall. I knew they weren't going to like this pick of Dorian Williams. I'm a big fan of him, and I wanted him on my team. The Bucks. That's the first round mock. You get an A plus.
Keep
C.J.
it going,
Stroud, Cody
baby.
Mach,
Let's go.
and Rasheed Rice. And I
I
think
still don't think there's any way that the real life Detroit Lions accept that trade.
right.
But yeah, if they're willing to pick up the phone for that, then I'm all for it.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Let us know if you'd like us to see to do more of these mock drafts. Words are hard sometimes. But yeah, we'd love to do these. Obviously, we'll be talking draft on Instagram, on Twitter at 3TechPod. And we're excited to keep cranking these out. So appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Comment who you'd like to see us do next. And we'll see you in the next one.
Gracious. Yep.